is kind of clear from the beginning this is a different kind of project for us. So it being more of a Tudor revival type project, bigger historical mansion. There's more detail, there's a lot more involved here and a bigger scope. Hi, I'm Ryan.
And I'm Jared.
And we're with Fairfield Custom Kitchens. We do high quality cabinetry, millwork, woodwork, and we're excited to share some of this detail with you today. You want to talk a little bit about the layout of the kitchen space? And what?
We had a really nice big space to work with here, and that was one of the great things about this kitchen space. And actually, originally, we didn't have that much space to work with. So when you would have first been here, it was broken up a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. The reason we have actually this whole big room, open room to work with, and even this open space over here is because some walls were taking out some walls. So originally, this space was divided into, I think there was a wall here somewhere. There was more of a butler's pantry type thing here. And then this kitchen space over here, more of a 70s type kitchen. Really outdated, really needed to be updated. But the wall came out here. So by taking out that wall, we were able to use this whole space and make this whole, bigger, more grand kitchen space out of it.
This coffered ceiling was a lot of fun. It was probably one of the biggest detail areas we had. We had to figure out a way to take this kitchen space and take some of the trim that we were working on with the house and all that stuff, and actually be able to bring it into this coffered ceiling area and make it work. And one of the challenges we had is we have a long room here, basically a rectangle, but then we have an angle on the one end where the range was going to be. So we had to work with that, and then also keep in mind that we wanted to center the island in the room. So we worked with a lot of those measurements. There was a lot of time spent just kind of moving this back and forth and seeing what was going to work well there.
So there's the top view layout of the ceiling there. Yep. And then if you go to this view, you're seeing a little bit more of a 3D look at the ceiling from modeling it in SketchUp.
So we ended up with about 8 coffers through here. And we wanted it to have a pretty good size look to it because the room's a pretty big space. And the trim build-up itself was pretty substantial. And that allowed us to get some good sized beams up there and still have the build-up crown that we wanted to have up there as well. And we worked off kind of the entry of the house, had a little bit of a coffered ceiling in it. So we were able to go into that space and look at the trim that was used there and bring that to this space. So we had the main beam area through here, kind of a box style beam. And then up from there is where the trim started. There is about, I'd have to count them again, but probably 6, 7, 8 pieces through this whole build-up. And one of the really unique features in the house was basically this crown was going to come up and drop down again a little bit before it returns all the way up to the ceiling with this final crown piece. And that gave a really unique look to the space, really set it off. And
so you can see how you have a little bit of an arch here in the build-up. Yep. So it started out with a couple pieces of trim here, and then it arches. Here you have that like reverse, and then it comes back up with another piece of crown molding to the ceiling. So recreating that was a lot of fun. It was a lot of detail work. So we had to take multiple pieces of molding, different existing moldings, and created moldings that we made ourselves to make that happen. So
and that specific detail, you can see that in the entry of the house. It's even in the library, I think, as well, in some of the headers. So that detail is very prominent throughout the whole house. So we really wanted to make sure we incorporated that and used that.
So this will give you a little bit of overview of how this island was. We built the island and patterned it. This will show you the top part of the panel that we did for the island panels going around the island. So you have a little bit of a triangular shape here on the top, and then of course that Tudor type arch that we're trying to incorporate in doorways, in some of the cabinetry, and some of the panels on the cabinetry and doors, things like that. This detail will be the top part of these island panels here, and then work off of that to create the rest of the panel. And some of the more raised pyramid type moldings here on the top of the island tie in with other areas of the house.
Yep, and then these posts were a lot of fun too. Trying to recreate these posts kind of off of what was at the end of the staircases. On each end there, we wanted to kind of recreate that and use that same look on the posts here in the island. And there's 3 posts on the island. We were able to kind of recreate that kind of copy the trim work that was originally here in the house.
So we took really careful measurements off of existing like newel posts at the bottom of the stairs, which were tapered as well. So you had to go, from a different width at the bottom to the top. So just different, really complicated stuff there to actually recreate the island posts based on the existing stair posts. And so we basically did an exact replication of that.
And on the corners of the island too, we added kind of that, I think it's called a lamb's tongue detail.
Yep.
It's kind of an old school look. And when you start to add a little bit of detail in those other areas, you kind of have to keep the whole island, the whole theme.
You want it to be cohesive. Yeah, you want it to have that really authentic look to it. So adding a lamb's tongue detail in the corners was Jason at work is one of his ideas, and I think it really helps to tie this whole island together.
One of the coolest details in the kitchen, in my opinion, there's a lot of them. They stack up kind of like a layer cake, right? Like you want every layer to make the whole beautiful cake, right? So one of those details is the brass inlay that you guys included, and it's so minimal. I know we went back and forth on like, what's the size of that and where is it exactly located in the door? And these are details that we're in the weeds in, so people don't necessarily think about all the details and choices that go behind that. But tell me a little bit about that brass detail. Have you done it before? Obviously it's something that really is enhanced in this kitchen and really helps take it to the next level.
Yeah, we didn't, it's not something we haven't necessarily done before as far as the actual brass insert around the inside of the door frame. There's a couple things that can prohibit that. If you have a normal 3/4 inch thick cabinet door, it's a little difficult to do that, number one. But by going with a thicker door, an inch thick, we were able to have the depth that we need to run the brass molding around the inside and be able to really set off this dark wood, the quarter sawn white oak with a little bit of brass around the inside. So you just see that ribbon of brass around the inside. It's not really in your face, but it actually adds a really nice layer of detail to the...
It catches the light a little bit. And what's even more fantastic is we did all the Armac Martin hardware throughout and this really beautiful finish, and it picks up on it. Like now that it's installed and you see it, you actually, you see that shimmer a little bit more with the hardware. So it's like both of those together really create the perfect visual moment when you're looking at each drawer base and door front.
Right. We want everything to come together, so you have, like you said, the hardware, you have that brass insert around the doors, and then you're going to have some the faucet details, fixtures, things like that, even lighting stuff. So that'll all kind of just helps to bring it all together, basically.
It's really cool to do a project like this where the clients are so cool about making sure these details are front and center, because it would be so easy to do this kitchen and kind of eliminate some of these details, and it just really wouldn't quite have the impact that it does when you see all of these pieces together, especially when, the goal, obviously, no original historic kitchen has an island that's like 10 to 12 feet in the middle of it, right? But the goal of, mimicking the newel posts on the stairs to be the island legs, these details make it feel like this kitchen was always here, which was everyone's goal. And you guys really, honed in on that and made sure that's what the kitchen looks like. It was always here, but it's brand new. It functions beautifully. And yeah, it's going to be timeless.
One thing we talked about too is the bar area. So the off of the living area, there's a bar area that's like almost more of a U-shaped area. So you come in the French doors on the one side, you can walk right through this space and go, it's continuous. You can walk right back out the other side into the living area. So that's out here. So what we did is take the wainscoting profiles and just matched that to the living room. Brought that the wainscoting, you can't see that, but it comes all around the walls here, around the perimeter walls, and then this cabinetry and back panel for the TV and this island cabinetry here is all modeled after the living room space. So exact replications of what they have in the living room space for style, panel design, that kind of stuff. And then the wood species and the quarter sawn white oak and the stain color as well. So.
Yep. And we had to take a lot of those details too with the wainscoting. A lot of that was kind of recreated very exact around the perimeter, but then we had to figure out ways that we could not only use that in the trim areas, but incorporate it in the cabinets too.
Right.
So we even used a little detail parts of those moldings and trim pieces to tie that together with the cabinets and to make it work with the different dimensions and spaces we had to work with there.
Right. So it was pretty important to the owners, to CBAW, to keep this as authentic as we could with the space, kind of tie this together and make it look like it's a part of the house. an existing house, and I think that's going to go nicely. So.
I laugh because it was a big job to start for you guys, and then as you start installing things, we're like, oh, by the way, can you do this and maybe do another custom table? And so it definitely, it bleeds, it grows, but it's cool to kind of see the process unfold. And of course, once we see the craftsmanship in one place, we're like, okay, how can we pull that into other places too?
Yeah, and definitely want to highlight the collaboration thing again. Like, so obviously working with you, Molly, that's been fantastic, and then the other people working here as well. Just pulling all those puzzle pieces together. It really is makes this project much more seamless when you have all that different input and perspective, and you can take those pieces and actually they come together much more easily. I think when you have that. So.
Yeah, they say there's no I in team, right? And so I feel like we're one big family. We all have our jobs that we're doing, but we're all communicating and emailing and having phone calls. And, that's important on a job site to make sure like, hey, when is this getting installed? So then I can coordinate, countertop templates and kind of all of those details. And so I agree. It's been really fun just working together, but then also coordinating with Isaiah, who's like managing the project as a whole. And, there's so many important players and factors who are putting a lot of time and energy into this house, and it shows, and the end product is going to be beautiful.
Right.
Yeah, it's already beautiful, and it's not even finished.
Yeah, we're getting there. Yep.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thank you.